Good to be here. How you guys doing? I mean, it's so close, guys. It's so close to the season.
You got 2 weeks?
I can't. I'm jumping out of my
Oh, I
suit
thought you
right
meant
now.
this topic was so
Well,
close,
I'm
because I
excited
can't
for the
wait.
topic, but
Yeah, I bet you can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, Joel, you unveiled your Heisman prediction this morning on FoxSports.com, and you have a surprise pick. So
I do.
Tell us who it is.
I do. Well, first of all, I do want to get a couple of guys out there because there's one guy that no one talks about that I think is going to have a really good shot to at least be in New York and is a dark horse to actually win the trophy, depending on what happens with some of the front runners. Quentin Flowers from South Florida, the quarterback. Quentin Flowers is a great player. Wow. Listen to these numbers. Only Lamar Jackson surpassed these numbers a year ago. 1,500 yards rushing. He had 2,800 yards passing. He threw for 62%. This guy, he 24 touchdowns throwing the football, and they're probably going to be undefeated. They've got a schedule they can go undefeated with. So Quentin Flowers, that's a name to watch out for during the course of the season. Then 3 guys that I think are just New York locks: Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Sam Darnold. Lamar Jackson is the 7th returning Heisman Trophy winner since 2000. Guys, it's incredibly difficult to win the trophy as an incumbent. And that's why it's going to be difficult for Lamar Jackson. He's already got people that don't believe he's as good of a thrower as he needs to be in order to, come back and win that trophy. And then my pick, and this one might be a little bit off the radar. My pick is Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State. I know you can say Sam Darnold all you want, but I think Sam Darnold is going to fall into the Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck category. Like Lamar Jackson, the target is way too big on their back.
I can't believe you said that.
Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State's got 4 great wide receivers, 1 elite wide receiver in James Washington. They've got a schedule where they're likely going to be undefeated when they face Oklahoma in November, and he's going to put up monster numbers. Just enough off the radar to impress people, but just enough on the radar to actually win the trophy.
We have just experienced history on
What happened?
Undisputed.
What
this
happened?
is the first time
Don't
you and
tell
I
me.
agree on something that is
Oh, my
way
goodness.
off the boards.
I thought you want Baker Mayfield.
I want him. I like him. And I don't like Oklahoma State. They've
got
been
no
my
chance.
rival.
Ruined my day.
George, you got
This
no
just
chance.
ruined my day.
I'm serious. I've been telling our producers, we haven't done it yet on air, but I've been saying, I'm going with Mason Rudolph because he's got the best receiving core in the nation, and something tells me that team is on the verge.
Yeah.
And the schedule sets up perfectly, dare I say, for them to win every game.
They're going to have a good chance. They're going to have with that offense. If they play any semblance of defense, they very well could wind up in the playoff.
Barkley, that running back from Penn State.
Ooh,
You
he
picking
is
him?
so good.
He's gonna be in New York.
Okay, but not to win it all.
It's hard for a running back unless you do Derrick Henry 2,000 yards and you win the. If they win 2,000 yards and win the Big Ten, yeah.
What a nice, pleasant start, Joel. You
Well,
and
I don't know if it's
agreeing.
not. Now I'm uncomfortable.
Well, don't worry. Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about in the next topic, and you can check all that out on FoxSports.com with Joel. A very interesting poll was released this week. CBS Sports interviewed about 25 current college football coaches, and they voted Jim Harbaugh as the most overrated coach in the country. Nick Saban came in tied for 2nd on the list, and an anonymous coach said about Nick Saban, Nick's got a lot of advantages. In my conference, you could take 5 or 6 of us and get there a month before the season and win 12 games. There's a little bleeping machine underneath that stadium, and they grow them there. Interesting. Joel, are Harbaugh and Saban overrated?
No, that's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. First of all, that poll, you have to understand now, 50% of the coaches just declined to answer the question, period.
Well, 48.
48. So I rounded up. I rounded up. This answer is born out of envy and jealousy. That's what it is. It's basically like saying, I don't like their hustle. These coaches just don't like them. They don't like that they've got the salaries that they've got. They don't like the places that they coach. The statement that you could take 5 coaches and go down there and win this year is somewhat true. Only if Nick Saban was the one that got the players there in the first place. That's the biggest part of this. The biggest part of college football is recruiting, and these 2 guys do it as well as anybody out there. Urban Meyer does it as well as anybody out there. And as far as Harbaugh being overrated, I know people don't like his style and the way that he goes about it, and he's got the outfit on and the hat on and all of that, and I understand that, okay? Look at what he's done over the course of his career. He went to the University of San Diego and made them a perennial power in their conference. He goes to Stanford. They're +3 in the win column his first year, ultimately going from 1-11 to 12-1 and Orange Bowl champions. He goes to the San Francisco 49ers. They're +7 in the win column immediately and lose in overtime in the NFC Championship game and become a team that's within 5 yards of winning a Super Bowl. He goes to Michigan. They're immediately +5 in the win column. He's the only thing that is changing at these places, and he immediately makes them better. That is not overrated. In fact, in my book, he's underrated because people write him off because he doesn't have a ring. He's one of the best coaches in college football.
I can't even believe I got to answer this, that I got to speak on this young man's behalf. Well, he's not a young man anymore. But for someone to say Nick Saban, Saint Nick is overrated with what he's done at that program. Now, I understand what the Roll Tide were under Coach Bryant in the 60s and the 70s, because I'm old enough to remember him coaching. I remember when he retired and said he'd be dead within a year. And I think it was about 3 months, Skip.
Yep.
I know what Alabama was under Coach Stallings in the mid-'90s. But if you look at that stretch from when Coach Bryant passed until when Coach Stallings took over, and from Coach Stallings to Nick Saban, Skip, it's not even close. The team before Coach Saban got there was 6-7. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, he got there in January. He missed the recruiting season. So within 3 years, guess what he had on his finger, Skip? National champions. That's what he can do. The whole part about coaching college football is, can you go get those thoroughbreds to run this race with? He can do it. They want to go to Alabama because they hadn't left Tuscaloosa.
That's right.
They've been playing in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, but those guys didn't want to come. Now he's there. He's won everywhere he's been. He went to Michigan State. He won. LSU, he won a national title, left to go to Miami, and guess what? Les Miles won a national championship with his players. Les Miles never won another national championship. He comes back to Alabama, and now he's like the Tiger Woods. You got Alabama or the field for the national championship because they don't expect to play for the SEC title, which is hard. They expect to play for national titles. And for someone to say, "Oh, I can take 5 or 6 of my guys," yeah, as Joel said, I'm gonna say it live for the people in the back because they ain't hear you. Yeah, if Nick Saban get those players, but could you get them if you were at Alabama? And you see what he said? Oh, we can go down there with Alabama the month before the season. Yeah, because Nick Saban's already prepared the meal. All you want to do is sit down and eat. You should be ashamed of yourself. I don't know who the coaches are, but you're haters. And guess what? You're going to hate again because you're going to be back in the national championship again.
Really? I'll take the field. You give me the field?
Take whatever you want. You're going to take this butt cutting too.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, a sophomore now.
And how do you feel about the number 1 most overrated coach, Jim Harbaugh? Huh?
Ding, ding. Well, he's not totally overrated. Here's the thing. I'm a little disappointed because he had an opportunity to get into the college finals. They lost 3 of their last 4 games.
Quarterback got hurt, but go ahead.
Look at the quarterbacks that Nick Saban's winning national championships with. Can you imagine if he had a Lamar Jackson, if he had a Deshaun Watson, what would Alabama be? They would not lose a game. They would not lost the game in 4 years.
John Elway was sniffing around A.J. McCarron 2 days ago.
Yeah. You don't know that.
I think he was.
You trying to get me, I can't get no free meals at Elway's restaurant. I ain't said nothing. I don't believe it.
You don't want to be
He said fake news.
Fake news. I don't think it was fake, but that's just me. Because A.J. McCarron's pretty good.
I believe he would be an upgrade over what they have.
That is correct.
I think he might be sniffing a little bit harder this morning after watching last
Maybe.
night's performance.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be. So I am completely with Joel about Jim Harbaugh. He is my favorite college coach because he hasn't just put Michigan back on the map. It's all anybody talks about is Harbaugh, because he's crazily brilliant at just getting involved in this and that, these crazy things, sleepovers with his recruits, and it will start to pay off as he starts to wean the program off the Brady Hoke recruits and onto the Harbaugh recruits. They are going straight north. They've gone 10-3 and 10-3. They won a bowl game the first year. They lost last year in the Orange Bowl 33-32. They're moving north quickly, and they're going to be a force, and I believe he will win a national championship at Michigan before he is through there, if not more than one. Now, to the other guy, I'm going to tell you again, Saint Nick ain't Nick. And I wanted just one anonymous quote to say the truth, which was, there are just too many defensive disasters. There are too many big stage collapses. I get all you say. And he's done great things, and he has done nightmarish things coaching Alabama's defense in big stage games in an Orange Bowl against Trevor Knight, an Iron Bowl, and the 2 Deshaun games in which Deshaun rolled up almost 500 yards. And I beat this to death. I don't have time. I'm not going to go back through the litany of them just over the last 4 years. But you can't tell me he's the best defensive coach in football when he has the best pipeline in football to the NFL. Every year it's like 3 or 4 go in the first round. And yet you get torched by Deshaun Watson in the championship game twice. You barely won one thanks to an onside kick that you called, and you lost last year on the last second play to Deshaun Watson, and you are the hands-on coach of the secondary. Really? That's overrated, man.
No.
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to give you something. I'm going to agree with you on the defensive coach part. Can't say he's like the best defensive coach. You know why? Because just throw defensive out. He's just the best coach, period.
Now.
If you go back,
are you just saying best recruiter, period?
No.
Coach.
The best coach. He might be the best in history. Think about what I'm about to tell you now. I'm going to say, I saved this till the end because I just want to end this once and for all. In 1972.
Good luck with that.
Just get ready. In 1972, the NCAA reduced the scholarships to 105. Before that, it was unlimited scholarships. If your school could afford it, you could throw 150 guys on scholarships. All right. So really, modern college football started in 1972 with 105 scholarships.
I'll buy that.
In 78, it went to 95, and then in 1992, it went down to the current 85 scholarship model. If you go back to 1972, there's been only 4 coaches that have won a national title at the same school 6 years apart. Now, I bring that up because it's incredibly difficult because you've got to do it over 2 cycles of recruits. You've got to have longevity, and you've got to be able to develop twice and sometimes 3 times. Those coaches are Barry Switzer at Oklahoma, Bear Bryant at Alabama, Bobby Bowden and Nick Saban, and Bowden and Saban are the only 2 to do it after the scholarships were reduced to 85. And Saban's got 5 national championships. The only coach to win more is Bear Bryant, and he won some of those before there were scholarship limits. Nick Saban's the greatest coach in our sports history, and the data bears that out.
Greatest recruiter, I will give you. They are loaded year after year. But if I go back through the litany of big stage disasters, the Ezekiel Elliott game, you say, what is that? You just keep sweeping it under carpet,
Look what
sweeping
he
it
said,
under carpet.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, did you see?
He's an all-pro.
They said
He got
He's an
230
all-pro.
yards on 20 carries.
They say when Coach Saban rolled up in that Mercedes-Benz, guess what he's playing on the radio, Skip? I got 5 on it. That's what he got on
He's been
it.
preparing that all day. Make sure you check
that
out
the
Joel's
Loonies?
Heisman pick on
that right?
FoxSports.com.
Is that the
Joel,
Loonies?
thanks for joining us.
Oh, you got it.
Did Jimmy Garoppolo's performance last night impress Bill Belichick?